Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Hawks Latest, your number one source for news, updates, rumors, opinions, and you guessed it, the latest and the greatest regarding the Atlanta Hawks. I'm your host Zach Langley, aka Langley ATL. Today we've got a full slate of updates to break down for you. This is the 127th episode of Hawks Latest presented by FanArt, so hopefully you guys have been enjoying the ride. I know I have, but today we've got a very exciting episode because the Hawks are on fire. They're on an absolute tear. Not only are they winning games without their franchise star Trae Young, who remains sidelined with that MCL sprain. That's going to keep him out for a few more weeks at least. But they're doing this in dominant, historic fashion. It's been a very exciting stretch of games, and I can't wait for it to continue. So today's video is going to cover two of Atlanta's back-to-back wins. So they're coming off. They're in the middle of a 4-game win streak, but two of these wins came off of a back-to-back last night against the Utah Jazz and then the night before against the Sacramento Kings. They're dominating this West Coast trip. They had an 133-100 destruction of the Sacramento Kings. The really struggling Sacramento Kings with little to no direction in that organization. Also the 132-122 win over the Utah Jazz. That just happened last night. I'm actually in Utah still at the time of this recording. I was at that game last night, and man, it was incredible. And honestly, Hawks fans showed out. I wasn't expecting to see a whole lot of Hawks fans. I was expecting it to just be kind of myself and then, you know, whoever else was as much of a sicko as I am. But no, Hawks fans showed out, and, you know, after the game, we were all chatting it up, and it was cool. It was good to see the fan base show up and support the guys. This win over the Utah Jazz, a specific player for the Atlanta Hawks had one of the greatest statistical performances in NBA history. He recorded a stat line that has never been done before. And yes, I'm talking about the man of the hour, Jalen Johnson. And so we're going to analyze the career nights from Jalen Johnson and Onyeka Okongwu. I mean, both of them put up absolutely historic stat lines and you know, career highs. We're going to dive into the unbelievable hot streak of Pistol Vit Krejci, who has quietly become one of the Hawks' most impactful players during this run, and he's really carving out a permanent role in this rotation. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it and start with Wednesday night's blowout in Sacramento that just saw the Hawks winning in dominant fashion. So during this game, I was actually on a plane. I was actually heading to Utah, where I'm at now. I did not get to watch it fully in depth at the time, but I have since obviously rewatched it and made sure I got all the little details in because it was purely dominant. The Hawks dismantled the Kings. It was 133-100 in a game that was effectively over by halftime. And so, you know, in the fourth quarter, there was really no reason to play a lot of the main guys. But since the Hawks love to rest Kristaps Porzingis on back-to-backs, and this is probably something they're going to do for the entire season, they just went ahead and played him a little bit in the fourth quarter, even though Atlanta was up by a lot. You know, a bunch of people were a little confused by that decision, but it was simply because he just wasn't going to play the next night, and he did not. Onyeka Okongwu played and had, you know, the best performance by any Atlanta center this year. The Atlanta came into the night against Sacramento missing Trae Young. As we all know, he's sidelined with that right MCL sprain. That's going to keep him out for at least a few more weeks. They were expecting to be without him, you know, like I said, like a few more weeks. Historically, that has often spelled trouble for the Hawks. The offense doesn't necessarily click as much as it should. This season, though, has seriously been different. In Trae's absence, the guys have really stepped up, and that can be kind of credited to the fact that Atlanta's schedule has been really, really easy. Trae went down in probably the easiest stretch of the season because Atlanta had a very tough, first week of the season in terms of schedule, but it really cooled off after that. And, that just so coincidentally happened to be when Trae was missing time. So honestly, that is a blessing in disguise for the Hawks because they get to really figure it out without Trae against some of the weaker teams in the NBA. This season's been different without Trae, though. I mean, they have seriously been winning these games and doing it in dominant fashion. The roster has really bought into ball movement and kind of sharing the rock. Also, the defensive activity, which, is a great defensive performance against the Kings. But in that next game against the Utah Jazz, definitely lacked some defensive presence from some of the guys we usually get it from. And so Atlanta gave up a whole lot of points, and it was a very high-scoring effort. But we're focusing on the Kings game for right now, and that defensive performance was pretty awesome. They've had a next man up mentality that has completely energized the team. So against the Kings, Jalen Johnson, who, this wasn't the best performance from him in a span of 48 hours, which is just wildly impressive. But in this game, he continued his breakout season with 24 points, 10 rebounds, and 8 assists. He was 2 assists away from a triple-double, which he happened to get in the very next game. This was actually his 4th double-double of the season and his 44th of his career. I mean, he's really racking up quite the reputation. I mean, quite the resume in the National Basketball Association. He was nearly flawless in that game, though. And I'm not just talking about the numbers specifically in the points, rebounds, assists, but his efficiency was remarkable. He finished 9 for 10 from the field and a perfect 4 for 4 from the free throw line. That is, both of those things have kind of been things that Jalen has struggled with in his career, specifically from the free throw line. And so Johnson actually scored 18 of those 24 points in the first half alone, as the Hawks built a lead that would eventually stretch to 44 points. There was a time in the game where Nikhil's plus minus was almost like 50. And so, yeah, everyone was just, the starting lineup killed it. The bench unit all had a few of them had negative plus minuses, which, is very surprising in a game that Atlanta won by 30-something, 33. And so, yeah, it just shows how dominant the starting lineup was. I mean, Zach Langley continues to be a consistent contributor. And Atlanta's depth and their balance, they were all on full display, and that was the biggest reason they were able to pull away with the victory. 7 players scored in double figures that night against the Kings, including Okongwu with 21 off the bench, Zach Langley with 15, and steady contributions from Dyson Daniels, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and others. Atlanta controlled the game early, going up by 15 in the first quarter. This was also another game that Vit Krejci was shooting the ball with the utmost confidence and connecting. But yeah, Atlanta was up by 15 in the first, and then Sacramento briefly cut the lead to 3 early in the second, but that did not last long. That was really as close as they would get. The rest of the game, by far, the Kings went ice cold for the remaining minutes in the night. They missed 7 straight shots, turning it over 3 times, and the Hawks punished them with a 25-9 run to close the half and took a dominant lead heading into the third quarter. The boos came pouring down inside the Sacramento Kings arena by the third quarter. That fan base is seriously upset with what they are witnessing right now because, just a few years ago they were in the playoffs and they were a team with a very bright future. But that is no longer the case. They're one of the oldest teams in the NBA. They've been playing Russell Westbrook at the small forward or power forward. I mean, the lineup is just ridiculously bad. They've got a lot of talent on the team, but there's only one basketball, and all of these guys that they've put together they're not guys that they're going to be able to be a cohesive unit. It's a really hard watch, honestly, and most should have expected that. I mean, going into this season, I mean, everyone was kind of looking around the league like, what the hell are the Kings doing? Seriously, this is no surprise to me. I know some may be a little bit surprised, but this should seriously come as no surprise that the Kings are an absolute train wreck. I mean, I know after this game, their coach, Doug Christie, he had actually said that the guys have to want it, and he called it embarrassing, and he said that the fans have nothing to root for. He was really going in on the team, and the vibes are just at an all-time low right there in Sacramento. And I don't really know which way they go because they could opt to rebuild, but then you're pretty much punting the season away, not even a month into it, and then if they were to go into the trade market and try to really rebuild and try to find suitors for Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan and Domantas Sabonis and maybe the other guys like Schroeder and Westbrook and maybe even a younger guy like Keegan Murray, if you're going a full rebuild, you got to tear it all down, and none of those guys other than maybe like a Keegan Murray have any sort of trade value. I mean, maybe they can still get some kind of assets out of like a Domantas Sabonis, but LaVine and DeRozan, and they saw how poorly that duo worked in Chicago. I mean, they brought it over from Chicago to Sacramento, and it's still poor. I don't see their vision there. I never saw their vision there. It's got to be a rough time to be a Kings fan, but luckily for us, we are Atlanta Hawks fans, and the Hawks are now 8-5. They were 7-5 after the victory against Sacramento, and then this next victory that I'm about to talk about, the one last night against the Utah Jazz. They moved to 8-5, and so the vibes are at an all-time high in Atlanta right now, the complete polar opposite of what it is in Sacramento. The back to like when the fans in Sacramento started booing, and it was by the third quarter, and then after that massive Reza dunk in transition, Atlanta extended the lead to 85-52. And so by the time the fourth quarter arrived, even Quinn Snyder emptying the bench did not really slow down Atlanta's momentum. I mean, they stayed with it. I mean, guys like Asa Newell got minutes, and that's good to see. Sacramento is now 3-9 in a complete downward spiral, as we were just talking about a minute ago, and they simply had no answers for Atlanta's dominance. The Hawks walked out of this game with their third straight win and one of their most complete team performances of the season, but it did not end there. The very next night, last night, in a game that I was at, and I'm not taking credit for the victory, but I do think it had to do with a little something. I think Vit Krejci seeing his jersey in the crowd might have motivated him a little bit more, because I was there. I was 3 rows up and I was rocking a Vit Krejci jersey. I was probably the only person in Utah with a Vit Krejci jersey, and so that might have inspired him to go a little crazy. Hopefully so, but I mean, fast forward to from Wednesday to Thursday, and the Hawks were seriously back at it. This time it was against the Utah Jazz, and what unfolded was perhaps one of the more impressive victories of the season, not because of the point differential, because then you can look at games like the Kings game and the Lakers game, but in terms of what the players did on the stat sheet. So Atlanta won this game 132-122, and it seriously had everything. Atlanta was it was a little bit of a rough defensive performance, through 3 quarters, but other than that, I mean, still on the defensive end, they had some late game steals, and they clutched up when it mattered on that end, but it also had hot shooting. It had momentum swings, and the triple-double performance from the ages from none other than Jalen Johnson. I mean, Atlanta just showcased that they can adapt to situations and continue to pump out good victories. So let's start with the star of the night, Jalen Johnson. Several years ago, Atlanta got a huge draft steal in him at the 20th overall pick, and now he's looking like maybe Atlanta's best player. I don't think it's ridiculous to say. I mean, he's really taken over the franchise. He's been awesome. But in this game, he had 31 points, 18 rebounds, 14 assists, and 7 steals. 7 steals. That is almost a quadruple double with 30-plus points and almost 20 rebounds. What? What numbers are we looking at right now? 31, 18, 14, and 7 steals? That is like if Nikola Jokic was a good defender. I mean, just an unreal stat line. That stat line has never been done before in NBA history. Jalen Johnson made history, and not from LeBron, not from Giannis, not from Jokic. Jalen Johnson did something the league has never, ever seen before. So shout out to Jalen. That was absolutely incredible. Seeing that in person was awesome. He was really getting whatever he wanted on the offensive end. He was letting it fly with confidence. I mean, he was literally like in transition, like pulling up from 3. That's something that Jalen has never done. But he has unlocked that in his game clearly, and so he had a rough start to the season in terms of 3-point shooting. I mean, he's been great all season, but 3-point shooting was really the thing that was holding him back. Also, some of his post defense, that was kind of holding him back a little bit, but clearly none of this is a problem anymore. Hopefully this, and I don't even think this is a one-game fluke either, because the night before, literally like less than 24 hours before, he had put up a near triple-double with 24, 10, and 8. And so, he made sure he wasn't missing out on that triple-double again. He goes 18 rebounds, 14 assists, along with 31 points. He literally almost had that quadruple-double. I mean, I cannot stress enough how awesome this stat line is and how much Hawks fans should be celebrating it and pushing it, making sure the media has no choice but to cover it, because I know it's kind of killing them that Atlanta's really got it together. They're 8-5, even without one of their best 2 players, and so it's really awesome to see. It's Jalen Johnson, man. I have no words. He really controlled every aspect of this game. He was breaking down the Jazz defense with his pinpoint passing. I mean, really in that second half, he was playing point guard. That's no exaggeration. I mean, he was just bringing the ball up the floor, and he was facilitating. Also, Vit got a lot more minutes at the 1 last night, and so I'll break down Vit's game at the end of the episode, because he's been spectacular. But shout out to Jalen. I mean, he dominated the glass. He anticipated plays for steals, and he was scoring very efficiently. I mean, he was 10 of 19 from the floor, so while not as efficient as the night before, I mean, that's still very good numbers. He was also 4 of 5 from 3, so much better performance from 3-point range than he's had all season. This was only his 3rd career triple-double, but it's easily his most complete performance, his best game he's ever played in the NBA. And I was there. I'm sorry, I might be making y'all a little bit jealous, but man, I mean, I'm going to flex that I was there, because woo, what a performance. If this All-Star campaign wasn't already underway underway. It absolutely is now. Is it too early to start calling him a lock for the All-Star game? Is that too much of a? Am I overreacting a little bit? Am I getting too excited at the fact that Atlanta has another two-way superstar? Well, I say another. Trey's not really a two-way superstar. He's a superstar, but not really a two-way superstar. Atlanta has a two-way superstar on their hands, and I think he should be a lock for the All-Star game. I think a stat line like that should lock you in, because now on the season he's averaging like 21.5 points, 10 rebounds, I think like 7 assists, and like 2 steals. So, I mean, that should get you into the All-Star game. I don't think there should be any sort of question about it. And Johnson was not the only Hawk to have a career night. Onyeka Okongwu, who started in the place of Kristaps Porzingis, he absolutely exploded with 32 points and 11 rebounds. He shot an unbelievable 8 for 13 from 3, I believe. That's the most threes made in a game by a Hawks center ever. I believe he made history in that fact, but also he set a new career high. And so Onyeka, whose previous career high was 4, he hit 8 threes. He hit 8 of them. I mean, literally, like Atlanta, this front court has the potential to be the best in the NBA. The Hawks also made history as a team. If you wipe out the individual performances and look at them as a whole, Atlanta made absolute history. They had 24 threes, which was the most by any NBA team this season. They had 15 first-half threes, which was a franchise record. I mean, it was the best first half in terms of shooting from deep that the Atlanta Hawks have ever had. And they had 36 assists, continuing the trend of just an elite offense without their star, who is one of the better playmakers in the entire NBA. I did not expect that at all. I knew we had capable playmakers on this team that were going to step up when Trey went down, but I didn't think it would be this good. I didn't think it would work out this well. And the schedule definitely helps, but you can't look at that. You got to just be excited about the wins we get, because Atlanta in previous years has had a tendency to play down to their opponents, and they certainly haven't over this stretch. And I think that is the biggest development right there. Pistol Vit Krejci was lights out. Our guy, he hit 5. He hit his first 5 threes that he attempted. He was 5 for 5 from deep. That Utah crowd, I mean, I was looking around like they were like, oh my god, like who is this guy? He was killing it. He finished with 20 points. Atlanta led by as many as 18 in this game, but Utah, who was powered by Lauri Markkanen, who killed it. I mean, he was kind of killing Atlanta's defense. I mean, Atlanta was getting lost on his backdoor cuts, and he was definitely a mismatch at that 3 or 4 combo, kind of a combo forward. I mean, he had 40 points, and so they fought back and briefly took a lead early in the fourth. I mean, Atlanta had a pretty rough third quarter, but they stuck with it, and they closed the game out, and they got the victory. When it mattered, the Hawks responded, and that resiliency, that ability to continue to compete, even through adversity, it just shows that this team is set, and this team is ready to win, and they're ready to take this Eastern Conference. A decisive 8-0 run in that fourth quarter, fueled by steals from Jalen Johnson and, the defense's standout Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who has really become a much better offensive player this season than he has been in his career. Both of them gave Atlanta back control late in that game, and Johnson had 2 free throws, which pushed the lead to 127-118, sealing the win. All of this happened despite the Hawks missing their star guard, Trae Young, who's the best playmaker on the team, for the 7th straight game. So that's Young's 7th missed game. They're now 5-2 without him, and Kristaps Porzingis was out with a rest. So I mean, yeah, that's a lot of depth missing, and Atlanta's depth that was available, they really made the most of their opportunities. And so this was an absolute statement win, and it showcased how adaptable and how dangerous this team has become. Definitely one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference when everyone's healthy, when Trae Young is back, and when Kristaps Porzingis is not on the second night of a back-to-back. This is one of the best teams in the NBA. I don't think that's an exaggeration to say. I think we've seen enough. But let me know your thoughts on that. So let's dive a little bit deeper into the 2 stars of this win streak. 2 of the 3 stars of this win streak. There's another guy that we're going to talk about in this next segment. But this 4-game win streak has been fueled, seriously, by Jalen Johnson and Onyeka Okongwu. This front court of the future. Regardless of what happens with Kristaps Porzingis after the year, because he is on that 1-year, $30 million contract. I mean, the front court's set for the future. Jalen Johnson and Onyeka Okongwu. It's going to be that for a long time. Starting with Jalen, who had that triple-double last night, almost quadruple-double last night, and Onyeka Okongwu, who had a great set. But we're starting with Jalen. What he's doing right now is simply special. I mean, his last several games, he's proving to be a legit number 1 option in the NBA. With Trae Young out, the offense has shifted drastically. They've had to switch up their play style. They've had to switch up their scheme. They've had to be defensive minded, but also they've had to run similar sets on the offensive end. But it is very different when you don't have your 6'1" point guard who is the one initiating those offensive sets. The ball is moving like it's never moved before. I mean, these guys are locating each other all across the court. They're playing super fast, just hitting the guys in transition. And Jalen has been the leading force behind all of this. The touches are more evenly distributed, and Johnson has emerged as the team's primary initiator. Him and Dyson have really taken leaps as a playmaker, and Jalen's just been getting better game by game this season. He had 14 assists last night, so definitely really coming into form. His decision making has been something that has grown enormously. Against Utah, he controlled the pace of the game. He dictated matchups, and he punished defenders anytime they hesitated. His 7 steals weren't just pokes. I mean, it wasn't, he wasn't farming steals. I mean, they were reads. They were smart reads. He was anticipating the play before it even developed. He was truly incredible on both ends of the floor. And Jalen's defense has been one of our biggest concerns all season. It's been rough at times, but he's really gotten it together over this recent stretch where Atlanta has won 4 games in a row, and they don't do it without his dominance on the defensive end as well as his incredible offensive play. And you can't forget, he nearly had a triple double the night before the Utah triple double with that 24, 10, and 8. So we almost were looking at 2 consecutive triple doubles in Atlanta victories. Is this a Luka Doncic with more size and also a worldly better defender? If it wasn't for that shoulder injury for Jalen Johnson last season, he may have been an all-star. He could have been looking at his 2nd consecutive all-star appearances. I mean, I think he truly was on the way last year, but then he got hurt. He only played 36 games in that season, and so that kind of capped his season short. But I mean, this year he's looking good. He's looking healthy. I mean, knock on wood that he continues to stay healthy and dominate the league, because he's looking at his first All-Star appearance. He looks ready for more than just All-Star contention. With a game like this, with a 31, 18, 14, and 7 steals on 4 or 5 from deep, I mean, this is all NBA production. And during this whole entire Atlanta stretch where they've won several games in a row, but also before that, I mean, he's putting up some All NBA production. I mean, he's on that caliber of player, and we're just going to see how he continues to put up numbers like that. I mean, video game numbers. During the stretch, he has been incredible. And so now, let's talk about Onyeka Okongwu. Let's dial in on Atlanta's center of the future, who has had an interesting career so far. Fighting for a starting center spot, earning it last season, but then losing it again as Atlanta picked up Porzingis in the offseason. I don't think there's any question about what Atlanta's long-term plans are for Onyeka Okongwu. I mean, he's going to be the center right now. Even though we have Kristaps Porzingis starting the games, Onyeka Okongwu is not only finishing them, but he's playing significantly more minutes a night than him. I believe Onyeka's playing like 29 minutes a night, and KP's only playing like 25. You always want the 7'3" guy out there for the tip-off, but Onyeka's playing the starting center minutes, and he has all season. We kind of predicted this on the channel, earlier in the offseason when we were just talking. Right when we picked up KP, and I was just really thinking about it, and I was just kind of putting out stuff where I was like, Onyeka's going to play more minutes nightly than KP. I mean, there's no question about it, and that is truly coming into form. Just a few weeks into the season. Thursday's performance, while he has been underrated for several seasons, I mean, he hasn't gotten any of the attention that he deserves. But Thursday night's performance may finally put him more into the national spotlight. He had the 32 points, 11 rebounds, and so the most impressive part of it though was his 8 made threes. And while someone might see that and be like, wow, that is never happening again, that is such a fluke, this guy is not a consistent shooter like that, they could not be more wrong. These were not flukes. He stepped into every one of these shots with confidence. I mean, he was just letting it fly, looking like a whole new center out there, looking like Karl Anthony Towns out there. I mean, one of the better 3-point shooting big men of all time. I mean, Onyeka was seriously letting it fly with confidence, and he was hitting, but he was also spectacular on the defensive end, and he was solid on the boards. I mean, he was spacing the floor in ways that completely shifted Utah's defensive scheme. I mean, for a while they had Yusuf Nurkic on him, and he just wasn't contesting. He wasn't bothered contesting. I mean, Utah had a little bit of a game plan of just like, we'll live with Onyeka shooting the 3. And that is terrible. That's terrible game planning, because, every single season of Onyeka's career, he has improved from 3-point range. I mean, several seasons ago, he was like, at the end of the season, after Atlanta got eliminated from playoff contention, he was in his post-game presser, and he said, next time you guys see me, I'll have a jumper. And so the next season, he had a pretty cool jumper. It wasn't anything crazy. And then the next season, I mean, he was developing like crazy. from that jumper. And then, the past 2 seasons, he has just become a lethal outside shooter. This is definitely the best three-point shooting year of his career so far, and he's doing it on very impressive volume. And this is something that is sustainable. This is not a fluke. This is something that is here to stay. Onyeka Okongwu is a lethal three-point shooter, and that's not changing. And so when he plays at this level, defending, rebounding, and stretching the floor like no other big in the NBA, the Hawks have one of the most versatile teams in the league. I mean, Atlanta brought in Kristaps Porzingis to kind of give Trey that stretch big that he has been longing for. But that center's right here, Onyeka Okongwu. And so while KP is going to start, any game that he can play, because he's never come off the bench in his career. Actually, he might have like a few games in like Dallas or something, or maybe his rookie year with the Knicks. This is something that Onyeka is going to play more minutes every single night. And so shout out to Onyeka. That was awesome. If we look at both Johnson and Okongwu's stats together, they combined last night for 63 points, 29 rebounds, 17 assists, 11 threes, and 9 steals. What? These are superstar numbers from 2 players who are stepping up when the team needs them most. I mean, they are seriously putting the league on notice. This is one of the more underrated, better front courts in the entire NBA, and I'm so glad they're on my team, and they are really helping Atlanta get some of these victories. So to close things out with this final segment, we have to talk about Crazy Krejci, Pistol Vit, Vit Check. The nicknames go on. Every single game, I'm going to find a new nickname for him and then just continue there. He's quietly been one of the biggest stories of Atlanta's 4-game win streak. No one's talking about it. He's not getting any sort of national media love, but in the direct circle of Hawks fans, we know exactly how Vit has been playing and how he has been dominating the floor. I mean, here are his numbers over the last 4 games. He's averaging over 19 points a game, 63.4% from the field, 60% from 3 on 8 attempts per game. So extremely efficient ball on extremely high volume, and his true shooting percentage is 86.2%. So that's not just normal shooting splits. It's not something that's just like, okay, this guy's a solid role player. I mean, this is elite shooting. I mean, he's looking like Kyle Korver. He's looking like Klay Thompson out there. Krejci going into the season wasn't expected to play a super large role. I had always been higher on Krejci than I think most people were, and then I think honestly Quinn Snyder was. In like opening night in the first several games of the season, I mean he was running that 9-man rotation, and he was running Keaton Wallace as a 9th man over both Vit Krejci and Mo Gay. I don't think that's happening again. I think they have both submitted spots in the rotation over Keaton Wallace, definitely over this little win streak. But yeah, Krejci's role wasn't supposed to be big this season, but he has been impossible to keep off the floor. Every single time he steps on the floor, Atlanta goes on a run. It's kind of like a similar thing with him and Mo Gay. I mean, this bench unit is seriously, I mean, Atlanta's depth is looking like the best in the entire NBA. If you look at Vit, beyond the numbers, I mean, his movement without the ball, I mean, him kind of going off of these off-ball screens and finding open looks from 3, also just letting it fly when he has like an inch of space, that makes all the difference because the defense has to collapse, and then that also opens up, other guys. And, by the way, Vit's not just a shooter. I mean, this is a very underrated, very solid playmaker. I mean, he's an awesome passer. He's one of Atlanta's better passers, and everyone forgets that part of his game. But I mean, if defenses are having to, just pick him up like early in the half court and close out on his threes at a very quick rate, that's going to open up everything for Atlanta's offense. So this hot shooting stretch has been one of the most impactful reasons Atlanta has won 4 in a row. So his movement without the ball and his timing and his confidence are all drastically improved from last season. And so, when I say that, you got to think like, this isn't something, this is a guy who didn't put up very good numbers last season because, talking about him drastically improving in every single category. But that's not true. He had a really underrated season last year. And actually, if you look at his 3-point shooting, I mean, he shot over the course of an entire season 44% from deep. So this 3-point shooting, like Onyeka's, is not a fluke. This is one of the more lethal shooters in the entire NBA. Definitely over the past week or so. Coach Quinn Snyder has seriously taken notice too. I mean, his minutes have been improving every single game. He's been getting more minutes. He's developing more trust with his coach, with the entire staff, and with the team in general. I mean, they are locating him. Some of the guards like Nikhil and Dyson are dribbling it down the floor and being like, "Where's Vit? Find Vit." let Vit shoot. Feed the hot hand because, man, I mean, he seriously had Utah's crowd silence for a minute there, and then they came back, but then Atlanta still ended up getting the victory. Krejci has consistently closed games on this win streak, and that's where, kind of the trust comes in with Quinn Snyder. I mean, he's been trusted to defend. I mean, even when Lauri Markkanen was hot last night, Quinn was throwing Vit on him, and then, he was getting some stops while, not a lot of people can stop Lauri Markkanen. I mean, he was doing a decent job, but he's in the lineup to defend, to hit shots, and keep the offense organized. And his development as a two-way threat and also just an incredibly elite shooter has made all the difference for Atlanta as they fight through the stretch without their lead playmaker and one of their lead shooters. His emergence has been one of the biggest reasons the Hawks continue to win without Trae Young and without Porzingis at full strength. And so when you combine his shooting with the versatility of Johnson, the two-way threat of Onyeka Okongwu, Zachary Rizashe, who's incredible on the catch and shoot, and also Atlanta's fastest player in transition, and Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who is a just defensive-minded guard who has been awesome on the offensive end, can get a bucket in isolation. This team is becoming incredibly difficult to guard, and it's only going to get that much better when Trae Young comes back. So, I mean, where do the Hawks go from here? They're now 8-5, winners of 4 straight, one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference, and they're doing it all without their star guard. They're showing no signs of slowing down despite being shorthanded. With the schedule easing up, continuing to easy up, slightly over the next few weeks. I mean, this is a prime opportunity for Atlanta to build momentum before Trae Young eventually returns. And then, when he returns, it might take a few games to gel, but the potential of this team rises that tremendously with Trae on the floor. And so Hawks fans should be excited. Instead of being like, oh, we're this much better without Trae, we should be so excited for when he comes back and the potential of this team because, man, this has potential to be one of the best teams in the entire NBA. I mean, the bigger question is this. Has Jalen Johnson arrived as a legitimate star in this league, a legitimate superstar in this league? I'm going to take it a step further. And is this new brand of Hawks basketball, fast, unselfish, and defensively active here to stay? I mean, I expect better defensive performances than last night against Utah moving forward, but still the offense got it done. Atlanta won their 4th straight game, and it has been an incredible stretch of games. So we'll be covering all that here on Hawks Latest, but once again, not once again, I even said thank you guys for watching so far in this episode, but that's going to do it for today's episode of Hawks Latest. If you enjoyed today's breakdown, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single update here on the channel. We're going to be pumping out videos every single day, keeping you guys informed on the latest and the greatest regarding the Atlanta Hawks. Let me know down below what were your thoughts on the dominant win over the Kings, and then the next night, what were your thoughts on the closer victory over the Utah Jazz? I mean, what are your thoughts on Jalen Johnson and Onyeka Okongwu both having career nights? Is Jalen Johnson the new LeBron James? I don't think that's an overreaction. I may be overreacting a little bit, but Jalen's been incredible, and Onyeka has been awesome, specifically from deep, but just in general. So what are your thoughts on their performances? Also, Vit Krejci emerging as one of Atlanta's more underrated players and one of the best shooters in the entire NBA. Let me know your thoughts on all of that down below, but once again, thank you guys for watching. I'm Zach Langley, a.k.a. Langley ATL, and I will see you guys next time.